Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Gruver. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I'm your co-host, Kathy Gruver.
And I'm Jason Mefford. And today we're going to talk about an uncomfortable topic. Uncomfortable, why? Because we want to talk about bad news, right? So we're not talking about the media bad news, okay? We already know that, but no, we're talking about bad news of, you know what, sometimes we have to deliver or communicate bad news to other people.
Yep.
So the question or topic for today is bad news. Do you sugarcoat it or do you just give it straight up?
Yes. Oh, so that's such a good question. I have not had to deliver much bad news in my life, honestly. I'm a very direct communicator, and typically it's Capricorn that would have to deliver said news, and Capricorn is very da 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 da. So it probably wouldn't be completely out of character for me to walk up to somebody and go, "Your cat just died," you know. Just like,
oh my god!
But now I've never had to say that to somebody. But you know, it wouldn't be out of character for me when I get into that like emotionless, cold, very direct Capricorn to just be like, "Hey, yeah, so your brother's in the backyard, completely dead," you know. So I don't know how but it depends on who, right? And I remember having conversations with my ex-husband actually about if something would happen to your mom, and I get that news first. How do you want to say that to you? Like, do you want me to sit you down? Do you want me to? And I've had conversations with my dad's girlfriend before he passed away. She and I had a long conversation about how do you want that news delivered? You know, I think that's an important thing to think about. How do you like to receive news? And having the conversation about how you like to receive that news with the people who might be giving you that news. I think that's a really great conversation to have.
Yeah, because I think, you know, for me, I go back and forth. It kind of depends on the person, right? If I know enough about the person that I know how they like to receive hard messages or bad news,
Yep.
then I can, you know, then I'll tend to go that way, whichever way they prefer, right? You know, and again, I mean, people that are like D's on the disc, you know, they're like, just give it to me, right?
Yeah.
So most of them, you're going to be just kind of straight up to like, hey, dude, you know, sorry, but I just heard your mom died, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to somebody that you're going to kind of sugarcoat a little bit more.
Yeah.
Than that, right? But also, I think it's kind of about how the person typically likes to receive it, but also maybe the state at which the person happens to be in at the time.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Right. So there's a lot of, you know, and especially when you know that somebody is much more sensitive and they kind of overreact, that's where I kind of have a little bit harder time with it, because it's like, you know, if they're sensitive, you know, and they're going to probably take whatever you say the wrong way, right? Because they're going to maybe latch onto specific words.
Yeah.
And so I get, you know, there it's a little bit harder to try to know exactly what to say, because it's like, it doesn't matter what I say, they're going to take it wrong.
Right. Sure.
Right. At that point. So you still try to do your best. But one little trick that I teach people that I work with is a technique called reversing your butts.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that.
I think we've talked about that before, right? So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll try to soften it somehow, and we get the order of the sentence mixed up, or it makes it usually land easier if you switch it around. So it would look something like this, right? If we pretend like, I don't know, you're my employee, Kathy, or whatever, and there's something.
Yes, Mr. Jason. Yes, Mr. Jason.
Yes, Mr. Jason. Yes, Mr. Jason. Something that you did, right? So you know, saying, hey, you know, Kathy, I really appreciate the work that you're doing, but on this last project, I need you to, you know, you didn't really do that great of a job. And then you're like, wah, 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 right? Because the word but, you know, subconsciously we forget everything before the word but, and we hear the stuff afterwards because it's a limiting word. So just flip it around, put the bad news first.
Yeah.
Kathy, that last project, I don't know what the hell happened because that was not what you normally do, right? So I need you to do X, Y, Z next time. But I really appreciate, your dedication and blah, 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 whatever,
I
right?
quit.
Yeah. So well, good. All right.
Solve that problem. No, I tell people to do that too in my communication workshop. Put the bad news first and the compliment last. That report you turned in was awful. There was tons of spelling errors, but I love what you did with the pictures and the puppets.
Yep. Great example, right? And so even that way, it's sometimes an easier way to deliver some of that bad news. Yeah. So just put the bad first.
Yep. And then, well, that's kind of hard if you're like saying that somebody died, though. Hey, your mother just died, but I really like what you did with the house.
Well, it probably has to be, relevant to.
Your mother. I'm so sorry, your mother's dead, but she looks great. She's out of, but it becomes that she's no longer suffering. She's out of pain.
Yeah.
It's like you can frame it that way. Okay, I have a joke that is so pertinent to this, and I have to tell it. So, man's going on vacation, needs someone to watch his cat, so he gets one of his best friends to stay at the house, and he flies, to the other part of the world. And about 3 days in, the friend calls him and says, "Oh my God, your cat is dead. Your cat is dead. Your cat is dead. I'm so sorry. Your cat is dead." And the guy goes, "Jesus, man, like I'm on vacation. Like, couldn't you soften it a little bit? Like, you're completely ruining my trip. Maybe you could have said something. Your cat is stuck on the roof," and then like broke it to me gently. But this whole like just screaming, "My cat is dead. That's terrible. Don't do that again." And he heads off on his, continues his vacation. And a couple of days later, he gets a phone call from his friend again, who's watching the house, and says, "Your grandmother's on the roof."
Your grandmother's on the roof. Oh no.
So,
well, but that's
sugarcoat it or kick out, rip off the Band-Aid. Yeah.
But again, that the guy on vacation, right? Like we were talking about before, he had communicated how he wanted to be communicated for. So even though it's funny, it's a joke, right? The guy watching the house was communicating in the way that he was asked to communicate.
Yep.
When bad news came. So it's a funny joke, but it also kind of ties in what we've been talking about in a real way.
Yeah, I love that joke so much. I told that to a bunch of pet sitters, and they lost their minds. I don't normally tell jokes during my talks. There's so many people that follow this speaking script of start with a joke. I think that's a horrible idea, but I did because of this, and it was the most hilarious thing ever. I was like, I need to start with more jokes. Anyway, yeah. So here's the other problem though. When you try to sugarcoat it, people know what's coming. Like, don't take this the wrong way, or it's not a big deal, but. Or I don't mean to alarm you, so if you preface stuff with that, your brain already goes, "Oh shit, what's going to happen?" Or you better sit down for this. It's like, sometimes
whenever anybody does that to me, my hackles go up at that point.
Right.
Because it's
exactly.
like you're about to rip me a new asshole, kind of a thing. And it's like, look, talk to the hand at that point.
Right.
Because I think especially when you're trying to sugarcoat it, but you say some of those things like, "I don't want you to take this the wrong way." Well, if you don't want me to fucking take it the wrong way, then don't even say it.
Or phrase it in a way that I'm not going to take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, think about what you're about to say to me.
Yeah, right.
Don't be offended, but you're ugly. Man, I mean, like, my mother's dead. I don't know. It's a terrible day.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my toys and go home.
Throw sand at you as I pick up my toys. But no, because I think a lot of those things, when you try to sugarcoat it in kind of an inauthentic way like that, I think it makes things worse.
Yeah.
At least it does for me.
It might be authentic, but it's just the person who's delivering news is uncomfortable with how to deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of us don't, we're not trained. School, I have not done algebra at all today.
You haven't?
Nope. Or geometry, or geology, or geography. None of the geos. I've used no geos today. But what I have had to do is communicate with my partner, communicate with you, communicate with clients, express feelings, figure out feelings. All those things we're not at all trained to do. And this is where I think our school system fails miserably, is we're not taught how to be humans. We're taught to do, we're not taught to be. And I think that's a huge disadvantage to us as humans, is not learning how to tap into our feelings, how to communicate things, good news, bad news, and otherwise. And I think that's a lacking thing in our society. And unless we go out of our way personally to gain those skills, some things are innate, right? Some people just shoot out of the womb good communicators. Unless it's an innate thing for you, we have to train ourselves, and we have to train the people around us how we like to be treated and communicated to. And I think that's a shortcoming. So have these conversations with your partners, your friends, of how you want to be communicated to with this kind of news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, I mean, there are going to be kind of some rules of thumb, right? That they're kind of telling you, but then you also have to kind of be situationally aware.
Yeah.
As well, right? It's like, I mean, there's some times that I'll choose not to share certain things at a certain time.
Right.
Why? Because I don't think the person can handle it, and it's not really, you don't want to throw that in on the same time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then sometimes if they find out later, before I tell them, they're like, "How come you were withholding that from me?" Well, because I saw where you were at, and I didn't want to hit you with that at the same time, too.
Sure. Yeah, the moment I was going to tell you, I knew it wasn't the right time, so I chose to wait, and then you found out before that, which is unfortunate, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
No, but I think I like how you said that too, that we're taught to do things, but we're not really taught to be things. And that's very true. And like you said, a lot of these communication skills that we're talking about and how we're interacting in relationships with other people is the most important things. Like you said, I didn't do algebra or calculus today either, right? I'm not going to either. I might use some arithmetic later, maybe.
Right.
But I don't use arithmetic every day either. But I am communicating and in relationships with people every single day.
Yep.
So.
True. Well, I'm happy to be in relationship with you.
There you go. Me too.
Yeah.
And I don't have any bad news to deliver to you, right?
I don't either.
Nobody's stuck on the roof, so I think
nobody's stuck on the roof. No. The cat gets up there occasionally and then comes right back down of his own accord. So
there you go.
It's fun. All right, everybody, go out. Have an amazing day. Communicate. Hopefully no bad news comes to you, or you don't have to deliver any today. But if you do, I hope it lands with grace and ease and compassion. I'm Kathy Gruver. I can be reached at kathygruver.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Fire and Earth Podcast. See ya.
See ya.